Hey guys, PK here. In this video, we're talking about the best Queensland or Southeast Queensland locations that you should be investing in right now. So if you're looking at Brisbane or Queensland as your next property investment location, watch this 5-10 minute video. It's going to give you so much gold. My name's PK and I help people build passive income using data, not using myths or a buyer's agent that costs $15,000, right? So if you get value out of this channel, which really exists to help you get ahead through Australian real estate, give it a subscribe right now, hit that notification bell and give it a thumbs up, give it a like, do that right now because really this is data. Data is powerful and I want you to understand it so you can leverage it and not be scammed. All right, so let's see what we're talking about here. So courtesy of Matusik, whose data this is. So what this is saying is Queensland, Southeast Queensland, future detached housing dwelling demand and supply. Now all property markets, they grow or fall or stagnate based on supply and demand. Everything can be boiled down to various supply factors, various demand factors. Here we'll be talking about some factors around land registration and how that supply story will then impact house prices in particular locations. So we've split out local government areas in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Ipswich, Lockyer Valley, which is inland, Logan, Moreton Bay, etc. So you can read that for yourself. So the first column here says annual detached housing demand. So this is demand based on population growth forecasts. Now, population growth forecasts are notoriously unreliable. So that's the first caveat or disclaimer in this video, right? You can't just take this as gospel, but it's the best we have. Now, population itself is not a good indicator of house price growth because that's just demand. There needs to be a supply story that needs to be understood as well. But let's just look at population growth and demand generating from that population growth. And you see that a lot of it is happening in Brisbane City Council, a lot in Ipswich, and other places like that, like Moreton Bay, for example. Now, total detached housing demand, translating this population growth into housing demand. Remember, if you have babies, that increases population, but that doesn't increase population demand. Now, when you look at immigration, that increases population, but that does not increase population demand because generally the first 2 to 4 years immigrants, they rent. So there's various reasons or various other subcategories why population doesn't result into demand. But looking at that ratio, here's how the total detached housing dwelling looks for basically the next 5 years. All right, now by itself, it's interesting, but we can't really draw many inferences. So then the supply story allows us to understand that seesaw, demand versus supply. So potential new detached housing supply. All right, over the next 5 years, you can see clearly that the least amount of supply is in Noosa, the least amount of supply is in places right Redland and Toowoomba, which is a good location, the most in places like Logan. And so overall, what Matusik has done, and I don't completely agree with every single comment here, but it's some great analysis nonetheless. Check him out. He's fantastic in many respects. He's identified, or we've identified, whether there's likely to be an undersupply of detached houses over the next 5 years or an oversupply going row by row, local government area by local government area. And what sticks out like a sore thumb in here in the bold is Logan, right? So you've got demand, population growth, and you have many property investment companies, many buyers agents that say Logan, 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 positive cash flow, growth corridor between Brisbane and Gold Coast, high yields, can't go wrong, infrastructure, da 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 da. But if you look at how much supply is coming on, and you'll see this because all those property investment companies that you scroll through on Facebook, all those ads, they're all getting you duplexes, they're all getting you house land packages, they're all getting you townhouses in the Logan City Council. The reason is there's a lot of supply coming on, a lot of land registration going on and forecast to go on in the next 5 years. So overall, The summary is, Logan, there is plenty of demand, but there is even more supply. So when demand is high, but supply is even stronger or the same, prices don't outperform other local government areas. Same you could say of Lockyer Valley, great zoo out there, by the way, in Darling Downs. Great sunflowers and all that kind of thing in regional Queensland, but not necessarily the best place to buy property. Now, if you look here, Brisbane has a chronic undersupply. Demand is strong. New houses. The Brisbane City Council, by the way, is from a development hat. I can say the politics are rife. The BCC are just not releasing enough subdivisions, enough land, zonings to allow to cater for this demand. What that is meaning, and will continue to mean, is basically within a, you could say 10 to 15 kilometer radius around Brisbane City, prices are booming, will continue to boom in my mind for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But those are expensive places, you know, you're talking $700,000 to $1 million, $700,000 to $1 million. So what about cheaper areas? Ipswich, you've got an undersupply, but there are other data factors that really take the rug out of Ipswich, things like stock on market and things like developable land supply. So even if they're not registering, the land isn't registering in the next 5 years, it will do so in the following 5 years. So you don't want to buy a property that goes up then falls in price. Okay, so that's why Ipswich isn't great. I won't go through every single one of them, but you can see here, looking at the ratios, like 500 in Noosa, 500 new detached dwellings demand, and only 50 registrations. So there's only one way Noosa can go. Redlands to a similar extent, but the ratio isn't as exacerbated. Sunny Coast, you can see, you know, the ratio is like 5 to 1 or 6 to 1, something like that. So prices are not falling in the Sunny Coast anytime soon. Toowoomba's really interesting one. That ratio, you know, 1.250 or 1250 to 880. It's not as pronounced as Sunny Coast or Redland, but it's still tipped over towards the balance or towards the side of demand. And I'm quietly cautious but quietly confident of Toowoomba as well. Moreton Bay, you know, that ratio is kind of 2 to 1, as you can see here, 7,200 to 3,900. So you can see here, you know, from this data itself, which areas are likely, based on this data set at least, which are going to have the best outperformance. So if you're looking to buy a property under $350,000 and you're saying, look, Logan is where I'm going to go because positive cash flow, that's where all the mainstream, the herd is buying, especially Sydney, Melbourne folks, easily fooled by the marketing and sales tactics. Just be very careful. That's really my recommendation, right? I have nothing to gain out of this. I'm simply presenting the data. There are better places to buy around Australia sub 350, but if you've got a budget of 400, 500, 600, 700, then Brisbane, especially Moreton Bay, Redland, and some of these other areas, they're ripe for growth. In fact, they're growing right now. So guys, if this was bringing value to you, hit the subscribe button. Tell me if you got value. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and that way I'll actually produce more videos like that. I'll give you more back. You know, if we get 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 likes for this video, then I know that you like this sort of stuff, and then I can produce more of it, and we can go honing in on specific suburbs as well, right? So always remember, the most important real estate is so 6 inches between your 2 ears. My name's PK. Below, I'll leave a link to my podcast. Below, I'll leave a link to our Facebook group. 10,000 people in there now. You know, step up your learning. If you really want to take things to the next level, website, you know, check out the Property Investment Accelerator. But guys, there's so much free value here on YouTube. You know, check out my videos. There's almost 200 of them. All are data driven, just like that. If you watch them, you'll start to see the picture. You know, you start to see what's going on in property markets. So if you follow data, if you want to follow data, you're in the right place. Give it a subscribe. And if you're looking to buy in Brisbane or Southeast Queensland, I hope this video brought you a lot of value. My name's PK. Catch you later. Bye.